Communication strategies that work. Communication is the exchange of ideas and information through language and nonverbal behavior. In our communication module Part 1, we explored some of the reasons why learners may have behavioral reactions when they experience language problems. In this module, we highlight 10 strategies that will enhance your communication with all learners in the class, including those with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Strategy number 1, use clear language. We often concentrate too much on making sure our speech is detailed and specific. Because of excess detail, our message can get lost. Identify the basic message you want the learner to understand and state it. As well, drop all extra words. Think of your message as a telegram, where each word costs you $100. Embellishing our communication and using too many words leads to frustration. For educators, give your lesson or instructions to the whole class. Next, repeat the instructions using only the key words. Strategy number 2, use positive phrasing. If we say, "Don't run," the learner may only hear the word run. Instead, say what to do, not what not to do, by avoiding negatives like no, don't, and can't. Make positive statements. Instead of "don't run," try "John, walk." After all, it takes a long time to list all the things we don't want a learner to do, but it takes very little time to express what we do want. Listen while this parent relates an experience she had when her daughter was young.
Now, I was a little bit past that stage already of telling her not to hit. I thought of everything I could think of. Don't kick, don't swear, don't spit, don't push, don't shove, don't do anything like this. And I thought I had all the bases covered. So I get the phone call the next day that maybe I should come pick her up early again. And what she had done, she didn't hit, she didn't push, she didn't swear or anything else. She very politely, at lunchtime, walked over to this little girl's desk who she didn't like. She took off her running shoe, knocked all the sand into the heel, and then dumped the sand out of her shoe into the other little girl's lunch. So she hadn't done all the things that she was told. So I needed to learn, and we all needed to learn, to tell her specifically what to do. And that was hands by her own body, her bum in her own seat.
If appropriate, show the behavior you want the student to learn, then have the student practice the behavior. Strategy number 3, avoid using idioms. Idioms are words or phrases that mean something different than their expected definitions. Literal interpretation of words that are said is very common for learners with communication challenges. Instead of asking a learner to hop to it, try saying, "Mary, work now." After all, do we really want to say to a learner, "Hold your tongue," or "hit the books"? Strategy number 4, be consistent. Repeat the same words. Sometimes, when our learners do not appear to understand us, we repeat our directions using different phrases. We hope that at least one of our attempts will be understood. Instead, choose a simple direct phrase and repeat it. When speaking directly to a specific learner, use the name of the learner. Be consistent and allow time for the learner to process the information. If the learner continues to experience difficulty, try paraphrasing. Sometimes learners do need to hear the same idea or direction using different words or sentence construction. Strategy number 5, use visuals. Many learners have difficulty with oral instructions. Those same learners may increase their understanding if you use visual supports, prompts, gestures, physical modeling, or concrete examples. Visual supports and prompts are ideal, as once they are learned and understood, they can be used independently. Examples include pictures of classroom rules, storyboards, class schedules, or maps. Gestures and modeling prompts are useful for increasing understanding. Examples may include putting your hand up to indicate stop, modeling a process, or using the words like this and gesturing the desired action. Concrete examples are also useful for increasing understanding. Examples include pictures or physical samples of a desired outcome. Strategy number 6. Give directions one at a time. When working with learners who experience difficulties with language, less is more. Do not overwhelm them with multi-step or vague instructions. Tell the learner what you want them to do at the time you want them to do it. Oral instructions can be given to the entire class and then repeated one instruction at a time for those who need it. This frees up the learner's attention to concentrate on the assigned task. At the same time, instructions can be written on the board or visuals can be posted. An alternative is to use a checklist. This puts the learner in control of the activity, giving both the learner and the teacher more independence. It is important to know that using a checklist is a learned skill. To teach how to follow a checklist, begin with 2 or 3 items and gradually increase the number of items. One example is to write one instruction on the top sheet of a sticky pad, the second instruction on the second sheet of a sticky pad, the third instruction on the third sheet, and so on. When the sheets are put back together, the student will see only one instruction at a time. Once the first activity has been carried out, the student will remove the top sheet and the next instruction will be displayed. This prevents overwhelm. Strategy number 7. Give directions in order. If we tell a learner that before we play basketball, we have to do our math, the learner may hear, play basketball, do math. In this case, the first activity heard is assumed to be the first activity they will do. Learners with communication delays may not yet understand the meaning of time concepts, such as before, after, while, and during. State your activities in the order that they will happen. Using the word first can be useful to build understanding of time and sequence of events. For example, first math, then basketball. Strategy number 8. Ask concrete questions. Consider how the question could be answered if taken literally. For example, if you ask a student, "Where do you live?" you may be frustrated by an answer like, "In a house." Instead, the request of, "Tell me your address," will result in the information you seek. Keep your questions simple, but make sure you ask for exact information. Strategy number 9. Ask the learner to show understanding. Ask the learner to show you how a task is done. This way, you will observe whether the learner really understands the task. For example, learners may be able to recite their locker combination, but until you watch them open the lock, you can't be sure that the process is understood. If learners can't get started, you can help by beginning the task with them. By doing an activity with learners or watching them do the first question or two, you can be sure they understand. Strategy number 10. Allow more time. For an educator, there can be many time-related pressures in a classroom. The need to cover curriculum and impatience from other learners are 2 examples. However, all learners need an opportunity to contribute. Allow time for learners to process what you are saying to them. Then, allow more time for them to process how they wish to reply. Many learners are able to answer questions in class if we allow them time to process the information. Support learners by teaching them how to recognize and use the extra time. Strategies like pair share, preloading, using mind maps, brainstorming, and giving advance warning of an activity will promote inclusive classroom discussions. In this module, we have highlighted 10 communication strategies. Use clear language. Use positive phrasing. Avoid using idioms. Be consistent. Use visuals. Give directions one at a time. Give directions in order. Ask concrete questions. Ask the learner to show understanding. And allow more time. These strategies will help all learners in the class, including those with FASD. It is important to remember that each learner is an individual with varied strengths and needs. It is through building a relationship with our learners and getting to know their strengths that we can discover which strategies will allow us to communicate with them successfully.